We are now just 11 days out from the NHL trade deadline, and the trade talks are really starting to pick up with some big name players, and I think we could be in for a very, very exciting trade deadline if any of these guys are moved, because they're going to be blockbuster trades. There's a lot of big names out there. Of course, you have Sergei Bobrovsky, Artemi Panarin, and then you have basically all the Ottawa guys like Ryan Dzingel, Mark Stone, and Matt Duchene. It seems like a lot of teams are interested in them, so it's really going to be interesting to see how Ottawa handles this, because they are literally playing meaningless games right now, and that's pretty crazy to think. They don't have a draft pick, so they're not playing for draft position. They're not anywhere near the playoffs. It is literally just a lost season right now for the Ottawa Senators, and that really does suck for their fan base. I honestly do think that one of the two big name players like Matt Duchene or Mark Stone are definitely going to be traded either at or before the trade deadline, because I think you could get a lot back, especially for Mark Stone. I think he's one of the NHL's elite wingers. He plays the game in his defensive zone just as well as he plays in the offensive zone. And to me, that's the most impressive aspect of Mark Stone's game. He takes a lot of pride in his defensive work, and this year, for a very bad Ottawa team, he is a plus 13 rating, and that is very, very impressive. A guy who plays the game in the defensive zone just as hard as he does in the offensive end. I think his trade value is significantly ahead of a guy like Matt Duchene. I saw Matt Duchene's name tied to the Nashville Predators a little bit. I might make a video on that in the coming days, but right now, I just want to talk about Mark Stone and the rumors with the Winnipeg Jets. Now, last night, this is something I've seen a lot on TSN. Since the Ottawa Senators played the Winnipeg Jets, Mark Stone had a very good game, put on a pretty good performance, showing the Winnipeg Jets fans and front office and scouts that he would be a pretty nice addition to that team. Now, honestly, I think Mark Stone would be an amazing fit on the top six of the Winnipeg Jets. I don't think they should switch up that top line of Wheeler, Connor, and Scheifele. I think that should stay the same. But honestly, I think if you were to put Mark Stone on a second line with Patrick Laine, I think that would really enhance Laine's game as well, because he wouldn't really have to worry about Laine being a defensive liability in his own end, because Mark Stone is such a good defensive player. And Laine, I think, could definitely learn a lot of tips from a guy like Mark Stone, since he is having such a bad defensive year, and he's not really putting up the points that we usually see Patrick Laine, or the goals, sorry. And I think Mark Stone would be huge for that, but I think a lot of things would have to really be worked out if there is any chance that Mark Stone is traded to the Winnipeg Jets, because right now the Jets don't have much flexibility when it comes to cap room. Obviously, you have the big name players like Blake Wheeler, Mark Scheifele, Nikolai Ehlers, Connor Hellebuyck, all tied up with some pretty big money. And then this offseason, you have restricted free agents Kyle Connor and Patrick Laine, who are definitely in for some pretty big paydays. I think that's one silver lining for the Winnipeg Jets when it comes to Laine's struggles this year. Maybe now you won't have to pay him a ridiculous amount of money, but Kyle Connor is definitely going to cost a lot, because he's having another amazing year for the Winnipeg Jets. So I definitely think you would probably have to unload a big contract, and then that would probably mean you have to give up a lot more as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. If any trade is to be worked out, I definitely think a guy like Sami Niku, Kristen Vesalainen, or a Jack Roslovic has to be included in this trade, and I'm sure the Winnipeg Jets are dangling their first round pick in trade talks as well, because it's not going to be very valuable. It's going to be a late first rounder, because they are one of the best teams in the NHL, and by the end of the year, they definitely could be the second or third best team. In terms of contracts that the Winnipeg Jets could unload, they don't really have any bad contracts. I think Jacob Trouba, his time in Winnipeg is numbered in my opinion. I don't think he's going to be back next year, so that'll be $5.5 million coming off the books, and then you also have $5.5 million coming off with Tyler Myers, and then a $1.4 million contract with Ben Sherratt coming off the books as well. So you are going to have some money freed up for this summer, but as terms of this season, I definitely don't think the Winnipeg Jets want to put themselves in too tight, of a cap situation, because you want to have the money and you want to guarantee that you bring back Kyle Connor and Patrick Laine, and you don't really want to risk that at all. The only real kind of bad contracts that the Winnipeg Jets have is the Brian Little and Matthew Perreault contract, and they both have no movement clause. So obviously, it's going to take a lot of, tweaks and working around the cap here and there to really make this trade work. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm very excited to see what happens with Mark Stone. I think he's one of the NHL's most underrated and underappreciated players as terms of what he really gives to his team, and I think the Winnipeg Jets should probably do anything in their power to bring him in, but really that cap situation is going to be killer. I'm not sure if they want to just bring him in for a rental, because you're going to have to give up a lot to get him, so I think the Winnipeg Jets would probably like him to sign a contract after he is traded to the team, but obviously with the cap situation for them, that is going to be pretty difficult to do. But in my opinion, the only realistic situation is Mark Stone to be a rental for the Winnipeg Jets, because I think he's going to cost around 9 to 10 million as a free agent this offseason. 365 games, 308 points, and this year he's having a career year both offensively and defensively. 58 games played, 27 goals, and 32 assists for 59 points. And like I said, for a very bad Ottawa Senators team, he really is showing out and shining, not really in the spotlight, because Ottawa, who really cares or talks about the Ottawa Senators this season, because like I said, their season is basically a lost cause. But I'm very, very intrigued in this whole situation with the Winnipeg Jets and Mark Stone. I was watching SportsCenter this morning, and it seems like that's all they were talking about when they were talking about and showing the highlights of the Winnipeg Jets Ottawa Senators game. So like I said, I think he's going to cost around 9 to 10 million. Maybe you could get him for around 8.5 to 8.8, but I'm not sure Mark Stone is going to settle for much less than 9 million. So I'm very interested to hear what you guys think about this, especially if you're a Winnipeg Jets fan. Do you want to see any of those contracts move? If I'm just going to throw some mock trades out there, I would probably say maybe the first round pick. I think it's obviously going to be in there guaranteed, because it'd be pretty nice for Ottawa, to get a first round pick in this up and coming draft. So I think that's got to be included. And then maybe a guy like Sami Niku, and then maybe you could throw in a Jacob Trouba as well to get some cap space off and really, even out the money, because like I said, I don't think Jacob Trouba is going to be back this offseason. And even if he is a rental, you are giving up a lot in Niku and the first round pick, but this is the team that's contending for a Stanley Cup, and I definitely think Mark Stone will put them that much closer to winning a cup. And obviously, they're probably going to have to meet the Tampa Bay Lightning or a team like the Maple Leafs in the Stanley Cup final if they get there. It's going to be a tough road, so I think having a good two-way forward, one of the more elite two-way forwards, would definitely help them for that playoff run. So like I said, if you're a Winnipeg Jets fan, make sure to let me know down in the comments section how you guys feel about this, and I'm very curious to hear your guys' thoughts, so make sure to let me know. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.